Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our school board meeting. It is January the 11th, 2023. We are starting with our closed session for tonight. Before we head to closed session, we're here to listen to any public comment there might be about our closed session items. Our closed session items that we'll be discussing are number one, student discipline. We have 3 readmission cases. Their numbers are student case number 212206, case number 212207, and case number 212212. Our second item in closed session is conference with labor negotiators. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we are going to move to closed session. We will be back at 6:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board of Education meeting. We are coming back from closed session. After our opening procedures, the public will have the opportunity to make public comment. Public comment opportunities on agenda and non-agenda items in person through the Zoom app and by telephone are allowed. Public comment will be last 1 hour. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. If you are attending the meeting in person, you will need to submit a request to address the board form to indicate your desire to speak on an agenda item or non-agenda item. If participating via Zoom, you will need to raise your hand by clicking on the appropriate icon in the Zoom app or by pressing *9 if accessing the meeting by phone. No yielding of time or substitution of speakers is permitted. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Now let's move to our opening procedures. First, we have the Pledge of Allegiance, so everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And for our land acknowledgement, we recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chucheño, Muwekma, Parkin, Ohlone peoples and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. Dr. Hurst, can you please take roll call?
Yes, sir. President Gonzalez-Hoy,
Present.
Trustee Clerk Smith-Foltz,
Good evening, everyone present.
Trustee Reckler,
Good evening, I'm present.
Trustee Phillips, Trustee Christian,
Good evening, President.
Trustee Miles,
Present.
Trustee Sampagna. We have 2 members absent, and that's Trustee Phillips, Trustee Sampagna. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I got ahead of myself. I already did the welcoming procedure, so please forgive me. If you have public comment, we're gonna move to public comment. So online, please raise your hand.
Si
you're
tienen
in the
comentario
public at
público,
the
por
dawn.
favor, hagan comentario público.
I think our interpreter is as a panelist. Are we good now? I think we're okay now. And if you have a public comment in the room, please fill out one of the orange forms and give them to staff. Okay, do we have, Dr. Hurst, do we have any report out or ratification from closed session?
Yes, we do. We'd like to report out from closed session. The board voted to clear the expulsion of student cases 212206, 212207, and 212212 by the following votes. Trustee Reckler, Trustee Christian, Trustee Smith-Foltz, President Gonzalez-Hoy, all voted yes. And Trustee Phillips was absent. That concludes our report out.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Okay, we're gonna move to public comment. We'll start with people in the room. Do we have public comment in the room? Do we have any other forms?
There's no public comment.
1 second, please. Thank you.
Our first public comment is Gabrielle Micheletti.
Thank you.
Hello, Superintendent Hurst and trustees. I'm once again here imploring that you not force the chaos of a strike on our community. Make no mistake, we will strike. We are ready. I'm not asking this because I fear our ability to strike. I ask this because I don't want to miss any time in the classroom with my students. This year, their progress is the best I've ever had with a class, and I don't want to lose that momentum. I've had the pleasure of being able to work with Jane McAlevey, one of the foremost labor organizers in the US. In a training with her, I asked, this all seems really difficult getting people to do things when they are beyond burnt out. She laughed at me and promised me that this is the time when the strikes are strongest and most successful. And in my work organizing right now, I'm already seeing how accurate she was. It's time that you start taking your role as stewards of this district seriously. We'll not be able to hire and retain teachers at the laughable pay you offer. You cannot genuinely claim to care about the students here and yet not use your power to come to an agreement that will inspire teachers to continue working here. We've been very clear on what we need to come to an agreement. The amount of money promised to the district continues to rise, and you can afford it. Stop wasting everyone's time and show your educators some respect. Show us you're serious and place a moratorium on signing more contracts with consultants with the money you somehow don't have until you've done right by your literal staff that keeps this district running. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Shanice Robinson.
Hello, all. I stand here before the board as a concerned mother and a member of this community with questions and demands for the principal and 2 physical education teachers at Richmond College Prep to be terminated for their failure to address the ongoing racially motivated bullying towards Black children, their lack of cultural competency in ensuring a safe, welcoming, and affirming learning environment for all children, their outdated safety protocol, their failure to inform and obtain consent from parents to take their children off campus, and for normalizing Black children being called the N-word and alleging that they are permitting their peers to do so. I believe that schools are responsible for the well-being of our children from the time they arrive to school to the time they depart. However, that was not the case for my son. On November 9th, 2022, I received an alarming phone call from the school principal who informed me that my son was brutally assaulted by a teenager who decided to not only harm my son with his bare hands, but also use his bicycle to beat my son in the face. My son's injuries include a concussion, a bust nose, and split lip, and his teeth nearly knocked out, requiring wires to keep his teeth together. The principal alleged that the physical education teacher did not see what happened. However, he was able to name the student and tell him to leave the scene before the police came. Not only did the teacher stand by and allow this to happen to my son, not once did they call the police or an ambulance to medically treat my son. Instead, she tried to remove his clothing before I got there, and that is what I walked in on my son screaming and asking her to stop. The school has failed to take accountability for their negligence and in my opinion, child endangerment. Instead, they have put the blame on my son, who is only 10 years old. They have blamed him for the assault and the trauma. Prior to this incident, my son was jumped by 3 of his peers, and when we told the principal, she told me that he was lying. I ask that the board take action in addressing the following. And I have a few questions. I want to know, what is the board's role or responsibility? Oh, my time is up. I'll let the next person go.
Our next public comment is John Sabala.
Good evening, Superintendent Hurst, President Gonzalez-Hoy, and trustees. I'm John Zabala, President, United Teachers of Richmond, once again here, asking you to settle our contract. Earlier this week, board members, I sent you a letter regarding our negotiations related to community schools. I wanted to go over a little bit of that information. Included in that letter, I attached links to the proposals from both sides, the district and UTR, so you could see firsthand for yourself as I question what you've been being told during your time with staff. First things first, I want to challenge the notion that the UTR proposal increases financial responsibilities. This is simply not true. The grant that you all applied for with us requires the hiring of community schools coordinators at each school site. We went through the extraordinary measure of indicating that this could be a UTR member or a Teamsters classified member or an outside contractor. I do not think you will ever hear unions giving up that level of power. We did this because we understood it was difficult to hire right now, and we did this because we wanted to work together. Yes, we did say what those folks should be paid, but if you commit to this grant, you commit to hiring these folks, period. So yes, salary, working conditions are the purview of contract negotiations. Second, the UTR proposal does not disenfranchise parents, students, and community, a claim that has been thrown at us. We waited 6 months and didn't hear anything from you all regarding our contract proposal. We then added another one. And finally, on October 20th, we received a counter with a new additional seat on the board of decision-making body that included a WCCAA member. We've connected with them and they've confirmed to us that they did not ask for this. Lastly, we created that as a parent position. My time is up. Please get the right information. Please read the letter.
Our next public comment is Mark Mitchell.
Good evening, President Gonzalez-Hoy, Clerk Smith-Folds, and Dr. Hurst and board members. I just want to say that today, the educators of this district received another gut punch from the misguided, ham-fisted labor strategy being carried out in your name and apparently with your acquiescence. We suffered a very frustrating day in impasse mediation where it seemed that the district was unprepared, disorganized, and had very little to discuss or offer. And this was after the district was the party insisting on a second day of mediation, which has delayed the resolution of our contract another month and into the 2023 calendar year. Please stop the madness and direct your staff to deal respectfully and efficiently with the United Teachers of Richmond so we can reach an agreement that will serve the students and educators of this district. I want to call your attention to the request that staff has put to you for a contract for School Services of California to come in and do $25,000 worth of services for, I guess, for the fact-finding hearing, which is now coming up. I just want to call your attention to the fact you hired a very competent staff person at a very high salary from School Services of California. We have a wonderful associate superintendent of human resources that we find very capable. And we have high respect for her. We have a director of labor relations. We have a director of communications. We have a lot of highly paid district level administrators that are capable of engaging with us through this process. We do not need in this district for the teachers to see you spending $25,000 for the highly paid district official to hire his old bosses to come back and do his day job here. Please vote no on this contract. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Rodney Brown.
I'd like to say good evening, board. I'm Rodney Alamo Brown, community advocate here in the city of Richmond, California. I think Esquire and Judge Henry Ramsey is rolling over in his grave on behalf of what transpired with Ms. Robinson's son. It's sad that a Black man created a school of this magnitude and these racial discriminatory events are taking place on that campus. Recently, I attended a meeting at Richmond College Prep with the request of the family. I will say this, the lack of professionalism by the administrator, Ms. Ramirez, was pathetic. The meeting was called at 12 noon. However, the administrator didn't conduct it until 2 p.m. Total disrespect on her behalf. Reason cited, and quote, there were too many people brought to the meeting, perhaps code word for too many Black people, because the NAACP was in tow. What pissed me off was the attitude and body language that was displayed by the administrator, who only wanted to talk about the past behavior of the student and not the bludgeon incident that occurred off campus in the care of consenting adult teachers. Consequently, the mother never signed a consent form for her son to be taken off campus. This is a huge liability blunder. The student, a 9-year-old, had previously been harassed by the 14-year-old, in which the younger student had made references to the teacher and administrators about the issue. However, it went unresolved. Weeks later, the younger student was beaten up with a bicycle, hospitalized, and underwent surgery to repair his mouth, and other injuries occurred. You all have the papers there, as well as the pictures to indicate it. There was a police report filed by the mother, not the school personnel. The perpetrator hasn't been arrested yet. The student has been out of school for 2 months now, in which upon return, the administration ordered the mother to sign a behavioral individualized plan. What such nerves of them to construct a reentry plan for the victim, but not a safety plan upon reentry? During the meeting, the administrator had the nerve to say, if the student had listened, this wouldn't have occurred. The PE teacher was heard by other students who were at the scene saying he got what he deserved. These are the kind of folks teaching our children who have no business even being in our city speaking in this horrible manner. At this moment, I've instructed the mother to seek.
Our next public comment is Kimberly Chamberlain.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Chamberlain, IFPTE Local 21 SSA Chapter President. This year, we have had the privilege of re-electing myself as president, Mary Kitchen as our vice president, David Oliver as our secretary, and Kristen Crum as our treasurer for IFPTE Local 21. We also have Janaea Alexander. We have Eric Marino. We have Jasmine Watts, and we have myself to continue on our board for another year. We would all also like to, we have Stephanie Hearn as one of our outstanding members, and Thomas Scott also. I would like to give a huge shout out to our maintenance and operations department for keeping our schools going and keeping as much of the water at bay as they possibly can. It has been a huge undertaking. I know they are short-staffed in many areas, but we would like to, from SSA, give a huge shout out to all those workers, all the school site personnel for enduring and helping out these young people through all the thunderstorms. We think it is very courageous, especially since many of these children during COVID and everything else didn't have to endure rain, basically. I mean, we got very little last couple of years. So thank you very much to all school site staff, and let's continue on and hope we get through the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Denise Robinson.
Level Richardson, the board member for college prep. We had a meeting with him. In the meeting, I was astonished to see that he would ask my 10-year-old grandson, trying to normalize the N-word, that it was used as slang in the Black and brown communities. He also was backed up by the principal, Mrs. Ramirez, that agreed that children use this word, which I felt was very inappropriate. And it also allows children to think that that is okay, and it is not, no matter what race or color they are. I also was astonished that when my grandson was assaulted, the police was not called. When I spoke to her over the phone, she kept his clothes. She would not give him his phone so he could call his mom. She was very erratic with me. She told the coach that was able to give witness to what happened to go home, and then another coach to speak in his behalf that claimed he did not witness the incident. My concern as a parent and as a grandparent is, are the children safe? Not just my grandson, but all the children. The incident that happened when he was assaulted was off of the campus, and to my acknowledgement, which was also astonishing, the parents have no idea the children are being taken off of campus to a park where there's drug dealers, where there is home invasions, where there are people that are homeless in the park. It is not a safe environment. I understand that this is our community and perhaps this is all we have, but parents should be notified where their children are at when they are in school at all times, and when they are hurt, parents should have that acknowledgement that day. So I would hope that you are able to rectify this problem at Richmond College Prep so that parents can have safety feelings when their children are in school. Thank you.
Can I note that that incident report is fraudulent? That was written by the principal of College Prep School. We wanted to make sure that you guys had that incident report.
Our next public comment is Jesus Galindo.
Mr. Galindo, I'm sorry, before you go, Ms. Robinson and Mr. Brown, our Charter Oversight Office and Dr. Hurst are gonna follow up with you, so please leave your contact information with staff so that we can follow up. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Galindo, go ahead.
Always happy to help, President Gonzalez Hoy. Good evening, Dr. Harris, President Gonzalez Hoy, distinguished board members. My name is Jesus Alfredo Galindo. I'm here tonight asking you, urging you to use the resources of this community in a responsible, respectful manner by asking you to please deny, vote down any request to allocate any more of our funds towards the consulting fees of community schools. I'm sorry, school services. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of reflecting on what was just shared, and it's deep in my heart. But really what I want to say is that we don't need to allocate more of our funds towards these services, especially we don't need to pay $25,000 to hear what was given to us for free yesterday during the governor's budget presentation, which is there's a lot of money here, there's a lot more money coming, and that money is ongoing. And the last thing I want to say that oftentimes budgets are a representation of reality in our intentions. And I am perplexed by the district's communication strategy. On one hand, it says that we're in a financial dire situation and we don't have resources to pay our teachers a livable wage. But then on the other hand, it keeps hiring expensive consultants over and over again. Lawyers with exuberant billable fees. What is the communication? What is the message that we're giving our community? And the second thing, our intentions, what we do is reflected in our budget. We say we care about kids, and yet the way we allocate our money isn't showing that. Please shut down any efforts to allocate any more money towards consultants. Thank you for your time.
Our next public comment is Jeffrey Bean. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. I am Jeffrey Bean. I'm a teacher at Shannon Elementary in Pinole. I've been with the district as a teacher for almost 9 years. This year, I have 28 students, which is small compared to some classes I've had as a district teacher. I was playing on a bocce league near where I live this summer, and I chatted with a teacher from a different district who had a really small class, general education. I was surprised. I'm surprised that our district has such high class sizes and yet pay is not competitive with nearby districts. I spoke with you a few weeks ago about Martinez Unified's new contract that has allowed teachers to make much more money than we do in our district, and I worry about my students. I have students who work hard, who come to school every day, who are enthusiastic about learning, and I'm worried that next year or the year after, or when they're in middle school in 7th and 8th grades, they will not have teachers. And that concerns me. I plan to stay at my school because I like my school community. I have a relationship with my families. My principal is good. My coworkers are good. But what would cause someone to come to our district? Lower salaries, high class sizes. I've had 33 students several years in our district. Please allocate every available resource toward staffing. It's essential. We can do without other things. My students can't do without teachers. Thank you for your time.
Our next public comment is Maisha Harris Gash. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening and happy new year. And my soul is on fire right now. If a quarter of what I heard about what's going on for that young male at Richmond College Prep is true, oh my God. Now, one thing I will say is I let my students know, if you ask any of my students, they know I treat them as if they were my own. I'm going to protect them. I am going to defend them. I'm gonna hold them accountable. But they know that I am there to protect them. So, I got to work on that one. Number two, if anybody does not know, the Hidden Genius Project is coming to Richmond. We had this presentation yesterday at Kennedy High School for Black males entering grades 9, 10, and 11. Please, please talk to any young people, young Black males in Richmond who, it's a great program. I tell my young people, and I was telling my young people, hey, the world is bigger than Richmond. I'm from Richmond, but I have been to many states and I have been to many countries. And so our young people need to be encouraged, especially our Black males, they need to be encouraged to take this opportunity to be mentored, to travel, to learn new things, to build relationships. So I don't know if everybody knows, but please, please, please look into this for those young people who are entering 9, 10, and 11. The Hidden Genius Project, there's also some money, some stipends around it, and it is a 15-month program. Also, I want to give a shout out to my students coming back from break. It is finals time this week. I know it's hard, it's rough. Ms. Gash don't even want to come to work some days because of this weather, but my kids are showing up. And so I want to let them know that I appreciate them, that I value them. They're coming, they're getting their extended time and their help. And so, like I said, just encourage our young people because they are in a day and a time and a need to be encouraged and to be loved.
Our next public comment is Francisco Ortiz. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, community elected board members and beloved community. My name is Francisco Ortiz, and I'm a homegrown community teacher and community schools organizer for United Teachers of Richmond. As one of the 3 co-chairs for the district's Community School Steering Committee, it's been rewarding collaborating with my 2 other co-chairs, Jora Atienza Washington from the city of San Pablo, and Director of Family and Community Engagement, Martine Blake. All 3 of us have deep connections to this community and this work. We have been diligently working together to bring sustainable structures and systems for the next generation of community schools in our district. It's a sad travesty, however, that all of our hard work and investment is not shared by top-level cabinet members who are not from our community. Management's actions do not match their espoused values. Many members of our support collaborators are concerned that there is little to no political will at the cabinet level for community schools, and today's second mediation is a testament to those valid concerns, as management made no movement and wasted everybody's time. Additionally, management derailed our existing co-chair model by adding a 4th co-chair representing our siblings from the administrators unions, however, without doing it without even consulting them. This is a testament of management's reluctance to mutual accountability and power sharing with all education partners involved. I urge the community elected board to provide meaningful direction to staff not from our community, to settle Article 53 on community schools and not allow outside administrators squander the 5th largest community schools grant in the state without having a sustainable plan moving forward and keeping the strategy focused. Please support our community schools and direct your bargaining team to settle a fair contract on community schools. Thank you.
And our last public comment for tonight is Zalon Harrison. Please unmute yourself.
I apologize for that. I'm here. I just Wanted to thank the board for and say Happy New Year. And thank everybody that's here and Happy New Year. I expect a lot from you guys as I have signed up again to serve this district and volunteer my time as the ASAT chair. I have been elected again this year. Woo woo. And this year I plan to get a lot of things done, working with district staff and supporting district parents and getting a better outcome. So I hope that the board and all the district staff is on board to seeing that happen. Make sure that we're all looking at things that are already in place and getting them to work. Because a lot of things that the district has done is really good, but we need to make sure it works and make sure it's working and make sure that people are being held accountable for all the good things that you guys have done. Thank you. And for all the hard work we need to still do. Thank you. And I'll be here with you. Have a good new year.
Thank you, everybody, for your public comment. Board, we're gonna move now to the next item, agenda review and adoption. For tonight's procedure, as a reminder, we're doing 3 questions per board member and 1.5 minutes for comments on each discussion action item. Okay, board, are there any changes or modifications to the agenda? Dr. Hurst.
I do have one item that we're going to pull, and it's off of item C6.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Hurst, we're not in consent yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's in consent. No worries, it's okay. Any discussion or action items? No. Anyone else? Okay, if there are no objections, the agenda is adopted. Next item. Oh, I'm sorry, any objections? Wonderful. Sorry, new procedure we'll have to get used to. Okay, so now we're gonna move to the approval of minutes from December 7th and December 14th. Board, are there any changes or modifications? Clerk Smith-Folds?
President Gonzalez-Hoy, on December the 7th, they have positions, the positions that are listed. It has me listed as clerk and you listed as president. That didn't occur until the 14th. So we need to go make that change. I'm complete.
Thank you. Trustee Reckler?
Thank you. On December 14th, E2, the Teamsters contract, I believe the dates are 2022 to 2024, not 2022 to 2023.
Perfect. Thank you both. Is there anything else? Okay, with those changes, and without objections, we'll approve the minutes. Wonderful. So moved. Now we're gonna move to recognition of our wonderful student trustees that have been with us for last few months. So I'll pass it to Dr. Hurst.
I'd like to say good evening to everyone. It is my honor and privilege to recognize both of our student trustees. I know that student trustee Sampanya is not here, that she's out ill today, but we still wanted to recognize them for the contributions and for the dedication and effort. And since CJ Miles is here, Trustee Miles, I want to personally thank you for your involvement, for all the strategic planning process that you've been involved in. And I remember being at Deanza, and I think even before that, meeting you, but also your voice in those conversations through that process. I just want to share with you that I appreciate you and I appreciate your leadership. And we do have a plaque to present you and to also Ms. Sampanya as well. So I'm going to read the plaque and then I want to stand up and present the plaque to you. It says, presented to Trustee CJ Miles, Student Board Representative, Fall Semester 2022, in recognition of your leadership and service to the students of West Contra Costa Unified School District. And on behalf of our Board of Education, we thank you for your service. Thank you so much. Oh, I understand that Trustee Sampanya is online. So we want to honor you as well, Trustee Sampagna. I had the opportunity to talk with you individually and really have the opportunity to hear what you want to do with your life and being a social media marketeer. So I had the opportunity to actually write a recommendation for her as well. So we really hope that she is able to achieve her goals in getting into UC Berkeley. And also we want to share with you, we thank you for your leadership, Ms. Sampagna. And we do have the same plaque for you. And it does say the same thing and it has your name at the top, Evelyn Sampagna. So we'd like to thank you for your service as well.
All right, board, I think we're gonna take a quick picture with Trustee Miles. So we can come over here to the front and then we'll come back and we can make comments. All right, board, I'll open it up now for comments from the board. And then I'll open it up for Trustee Miles and Trustee Sampagna if they want to say a few words. Would anyone like to start? Trustee Reckler? Sorry, yes. Try to do it in a minute and a half if you can. Thank you.
Sure. I'd just like to thank our student trustees for their wonderful insights, their bravery, their fearlessness, the way they advocate for the students. It's really wonderful. As I say all the time, the students are the best part of the board. And I've enjoyed having you so much. I hope you'll come and comment, and I'm looking forward to hearing your insights on your experience, and best of luck to you. Thank you so much. Oh, if I could add just one more thing, maybe next week Trustee Sampagna can come in and we can give her the plaque in person.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler. Great idea. Clerk Smith Foltz?
Thank you. This is not easy. This is probably one of the most intimidating and hardest things to do, but you did it with grace. Both of you did it with style. You represented the student trustees well. You represented yourselves well, and you knocked it out of the park. Both of you did. And I just want to say that I couldn't be prouder. And keep using your voice, keep speaking up, and keep knocking down those doors and making good trouble. I really appreciate you. Thank you, both of you. I see you, friend. Both of you. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Foltz. Trustee Christian?
Yes, I would just want to say, I enjoy serving with you guys and your eagerness and your love to, you want to see good things happen. And so I appreciate you guys, and yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Christian. For my comments, Trustee Sampagna, Trustee Miles, I just want to thank you for your service. You were here the whole time with us the last 6 months. And I know it's not easy. I got to sit next to you both, so I got to know you a little bit more. At times I didn't feel so alone to be lost. So thank you both for keeping me in check at the board meetings. And then I look forward to seeing you in 10 years here in our seats. I always say this to student trustees, but my hope one day is that I'll look back and the both of you plus the other student trustees that have served will take on all of our seats, because You have been both incredible advocates, and I know you'll continue to be. So thank you both for your service. Okay, I'll pass it on to Trustee Miles and then Trustee Sampagna, if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and especially thank you to the past trustee Martin for making me do this. I think I kind of got to owe that to him. I just want to thank all the members for UTR. I had an amazing time working with you guys, and I hope to continue working as much as I can. Even though I'm no longer a trustee, that doesn't mean I don't want to still continue advocating for the student voice and working with people in the district. I think Evelyn and I have a couple plans that we want to get done by the end of the school year. So hopefully that gets done. This is just an amazing experience. I don't know. It's just, I'm not going to be used to leaving. It's really nice seeing the same faces and getting to recognize all the people who are commenting, just like, oh, hey, you were here last week and the week before. Wow, that's so crazy. But yeah, I'm kind of sad to see it go, but it was a good time.
Thank you. Trustee Sampagna?
Hi, it's unfortunate I couldn't come to the meeting in person, but you know, with the policy, it's better if I just stay home. And I just want to say thank you to the whole board for this opportunity and the chance to be a representative for my district. It's truly been an honor to serve with everyone, the board, Dr. Hurst, and I give my whole love to the district. And I want to give acknowledgements to the UTR for giving me the opportunity to work with them too and to be an advocate. It's amazing that I've been able to be here, and I know I'm not going to be used to not being at the meetings. And I know 2 weeks from now on a Wednesday, I'm going to wonder, I should have been at the meeting right now. But I just know this is an opportunity. I know I only get once, maybe in a while. And just to be able to be surrounded with these amazing people on the board. And also want to give my acknowledgements to Miss Liz Sanders for being able to work with her on the survey, and it's just awesome. And I hope I'll be able to work with you again in the future.
Thank you so much to you both. Let's just give him one more hand and congratulations. Okay, we're going to move to item B9, no, excuse me, B10, resolution number 2223/41, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service 2023. Ms. Sanders, I believe this is your item.
Thank you, President Gonzalez-Hoy. This is District Resolution 222341 in recognition of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, January 16th, 2023. Whereas renowned civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15th, 1929 to the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and Alberta Williams King. And whereas in 1948, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. received his Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology from Morehouse College. In 1951, he received his Bachelor of Divinity degree from Crozer Theological Seminary as valedictorian and student body president. And in 1955, he is awarded a doctorate in systematic theology from Boston University. And whereas Dr. King married Coretta Scott on June 18th, 1953, and was ordained pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama in 1954. And whereas 5 days after Rosa Parks' arrest for refusing to comply with segregation on buses in Montgomery, Alabama on December 5th, 1955, Dr. King was elected president of the Montgomery Improvement Association and the Montgomery bus boycott began. And whereas during the boycott, Dr. King gained national prominence as an exceptional leader with extraordinary oratorical skills and personal courage. And whereas on December 20th, 1956, the United States Supreme Court declared Alabama's segregation law unconstitutional and Montgomery buses were desegregated. And whereas in 1957, Dr. King and other Southern African American ministers founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and elected Dr. King as president. And whereas Dr. King led the 1957 prayer pilgrimage for freedom in Washington, D.C., and subsequently published his first book titled Stride Toward Freedom, The Montgomery Story. And whereas in 1959, Dr. King toured India, where he learned more about the philosophy of nonviolence of Mohandas K. Gandhi and developed his own theories about achieving social change through nonviolent resistance. And whereas Dr. King delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech on August 28th, 1963, at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And whereas Dr. King received the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo, Norway in 1964, and the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964 was enacted as a direct result of Dr. King's work. And whereas in 1965, Dr. King led the march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, and President Lyndon Johnson signed the Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965. And whereas Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement helped change public policy from segregation to integration, resulting in the repeal of the post-Reconstruction era state laws mandating racial segregation in the South, known as the Jim Crow laws, thereby leading to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and other anti-discrimination laws aimed at ending economic, legal, and social segregation in America. And whereas Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement helped change public policy from legal and socially acceptable discrimination and segregation to an open and accessible policy of racial integration, leading to equal participation in and access to primary and higher education, housing, employment, transportation, federal, state, and local governmental elections, and other aspects of public policy relating to human rights. And whereas Dr. King dramatically influenced the perspective and worldview of our entire generation, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day represents liberation from cruelty and injustice for many African Americans and other minority groups, and the notion of liberty from cruelty and injustice is a concept that resonates with all marginalized groups. And whereas on April 4th, 1968, Dr. King was assassinated while in Memphis, Tennessee, assisting striking sanitation workers. And whereas United States Representative John Conyers introduced legislation in Congress 4 days later, proposing Dr. King's birthday as a holiday. And whereas on April 10th, 1970, California became the first state to pass legislation making Dr. King's birthday a school holiday. And whereas despite resistance to the creation of a new national holiday, the diligence and perseverance of Representative Conyers and numerous others in pursuing this goal culminated in November 2nd, 1983, when President Ronald Reagan signed legislation making Dr. King's birthday a national holiday. And whereas January 20th, 1986 marked the first federal observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education and the West Contra Costa Unified School District recognize Monday, January 16th, 2023 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service and encourage all schools to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional activities.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Board, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
So moved, it's not a motion.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we have.
Sorry.
Sorry, I have to do the whole thing, my bad. I move that we approve the recognition of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, January 16th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Christian. Are there any comments? Clerk Smith Folds.
Dr. Hurst, we have a lot of our schools that are doing service activities in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King. I would love for the district to go out, record them, take pictures, and bring back to the board. I encourage the board to go out and do service at one of our 54 schools, either before this holiday or after this holiday. There are a lot of schools that need yard duty, lunchtime duty, traffic duty. Teachers need breaks, just going in and being a badge volunteer and say, go take a bathroom break. Go take a minute to self-reflect. So I encourage the board to go out and do service also in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Folds. Any other comments? Okay. Okay, with no objection, we will move this item. Okay,
Reckler, yes.
thank you. Okay, we're gonna vote. We'll start with Trustee Miles.
Miles, yay.
Thank you, Trustee Sampagna.
Sumpania, yes.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
Thank you. Clerk Smith Folds,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Christian.
Christian, yes.
Thank you. And I'm a yes. It passes. Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving to item B11. Ms. Sanders, I think it's your item as well.
Thank you. This is District Resolution number 222342, recognizing Fred Korematsu Day, January 28th, 2023. Whereas Fred Toyosaburo Korematsu was born on January 30th, 1919 in Oakland, California, a child of Japanese immigrants. And whereas in February 1942, shortly after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9066, authorizing the Secretary of War to exclude any or all residents from certain geographic areas and authorizing the federal authorities to provide transportation, shelter, and other accommodations for excluded or displaced residents. And whereas with that authority, the U.S. Army issued orders excluding more than 100,000 people of Japanese descent, including many U.S. citizens from areas on the West Coast, and requiring them to report to internment camps. And whereas those orders included Exclusion Order 34, which as of May 1942 barred all persons of Japanese ancestry, both alien and non-alien, from an area near San Francisco Bay, and required Japanese Americans to report to a civilian control center from which they were sent to detention centers and internment camps. And whereas Mr. Korematsu was arrested on May 30th, 1942 in downtown San Leandro, California, and subsequently convicted in U.S. District Court for refusing to go to a Japanese American internment camp, but did not accept this injustice and instead fought it vigorously through all the means provided him under law. And whereas the U.S. Supreme Court upheld Mr. Korematsu's conviction, but after the 1983 findings of the Carter Special Commission that internment of Japanese Americans was based on race prejudice, war hysteria, and a failure of political leaderships, and the discovery of other documents in U.S. government archives that stated Japanese Americans pose no danger to the U.S., a U.S. District Court judge overturned Mr. Korematsu's conviction on November 10th, 1983. And whereas President Bill Clinton awarded Mr. Korematsu the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in 1988. And whereas Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger signed a bill in 2010, making January 30th, Mr. Korematsu's birthday, an annual day of recognition in California known as the Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties in the Constitution, the first time any state designated a day in honor of an Asian American. And whereas the West Contra Costa Unified School District has named one of its middle schools, Fred T. Korematsu Middle School, to salute his contributions to American society and humanity at large, and his legacy as a civil rights icon for a younger generation of Japanese Americans and Americans in general. And whereas Mr. Korematsu is one of the great modern civil rights heroes and a notable defender of the Constitution, his people, and the great American ideals to which we aspire but do not always attain. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board of Education salute the legacy of Fred Toyosaburo Korematsu and designate January 28th, 2023 as Fred Korematsu Day.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Board, can I have a motion?
I move that we approve recognizing District Resolution number 2223-42, recognizing Fred Korematsu Day, January 28th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. Are there any comments? Okay, let's move to a vote. Trustee Miles,
Miles, yay.
trustee Sampagna,
Simpani, yes.
trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
clerk Smith Folds,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Christian,
Christian, yes.
and I'm a yes, and it passes. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna move to consent items. Board, are there any items that we want to pull? Actually, we'll start with Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, are there any items that we want to pull?
Yes, just a portion of the item, looking at item C6, not the whole item, but when you look at the attachment, there is an item at the very bottom of the attachment. It says WCCUSD Athletic Department use SNAP raise for crowdfunding. We only want to remove just that portion. And this is just to allow for a continued conversation with board members.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Also, we are pulling item C2 for discussion. I'm sorry, Ms. Logan, is it C2? Or is it C3? Or-
It is C3, and I actually emailed you the information.
I'm sorry?
C3?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry, we're ready. C3.
Mhm.
We're pulling C3. Thank you. Board, any other items? Okay, without objection, we'll approve the consent items with the item from C6 that is being removed completely and then pulling C3. Okay, so moved. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we're gonna move, not moved, I'm sorry, approved. We're gonna move to D, Superintendent Communication. Dr. Hurst, I'll pass to you.
Can we bring up the presentation, please? And while we're bringing up the presentation, we have a wonderful video that we want to start off with that was made by an individual from the community, but it was really about an event that happened here in this building at Dijon Middle School under the leadership of Jelani Cortez as the principal. And they had a Black Excellence Award ceremony. And I had the opportunity to participate in a portion of the ceremony. And that community member put together this video, and I thought it was certainly worth sharing with our board and members of the audience and the public. So if we can just play the video and enjoy.
Staff, district personnel, and students, thank you for joining us today to celebrate Black excellence here at Dijon Middle School. Yes, let's clap it up for Black excellence. Dictionary.com, the term Black excellence refers to high level of achievement, success, or ability demonstrated by a Black person or by Black people in general. And are excited to honor you today for academics, courage, kindness, most improved attendance, and leadership. Remember to continue to love the skin you are in. And never forget the words of Maya Angelou, who said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." Please remember the words of Harriet Tubman, who once said, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer."
So we wanted to take the opportunity, yes, we can clap for that. Thank you so much. We wanted to lift up the principal, Ms. Cortez, and honor her, but especially the students who were being recognized. And again, if you didn't catch it, she was recognizing those students for academic achievement. It was 3.0 and above. She was recognizing also for courage, kindness, attendance, and leadership. So again, we want to honor those students. We want to share that with you. And if we could bring back up the presentation. The second part of the presentation has been certainly a work in progress, and the opportunity to meet with the board last week, a couple of weeks ago, and we were able to finalize some of our goals. Before I share the goal, if we could pull up the memoriam, we want to just share that. Thank you. So we do want to share this memoriam with everyone. The district would like to recognize, take the time to recognize the contributions of this member of our community who has passed away. We wanted to share with you, and we regret to inform you that Miss Christine Wu Shepherd recently passed away. And she worked as a teacher at Terra Hills. And she was a paraprofessional 3 also at Mira Vista from 2018 to 2022. So we just wanted to share with the family that you are with us as we're praying for you. And now if we can go to the next slide.
Staff, district personnel, and students.
So this is what I was sharing with you. We have been working with the board and reaching consensus on goals for the district. And I've been able to share an overview of just the top portion of the goals. But I wanted to share with you and just go a little bit further in detail. I've been sharing with you that I would do this. You don't see focus area 1 because there's still a conversation that needs to happen with the board on focus area 1. So what I'm sharing with you is focus area 2. And that's the goal that I shared with you before on social emotional wellness. So as you see, there's several indicators here that we're focusing on this year. And I'll talk briefly about those. On the first indicator, you'll see that the focus is going to be looking at the number of incidents involving possession of dangerous items. So think about guns, imitation firearms, explosives, and knives that's been happening on our campuses. And what we wanted to share with you, looking at the number 113 incidences, which is our current reality, we want to reduce that to 57 incidences this year, as measured by incident data from our student information system. So that's a portion of that goal under social emotional wellness. Also, looking at that same goal, we wanted to focus on violent incidences on our campuses. So looking at physical altercations, fights, acts of violence, and really looking at our campuses. And if you look at our campuses, we have 1,020 incidences, and we want to reduce that to 816 this year by the end of this school year. And then also by the end of this school year, students reported perceptions of feeling safe at school. And really, we want to address that and use information from the California Healthy Kids Survey. So we want to increase at the elementary school from 67% to 75% feeling safe, middle school 42 to 50, and then high school from 40% to 50%. And then at the very bottom, you'll see that by the end of the school year, students reported perceptions of caring relationships, school connectedness, meaningful participation and fairness, again, measured by California Healthy Kids Survey. And we want to increase those by 5%. And what we've done is looking at each one of those categories, you can see their start point, and we want to increase that by 5%. On the first one where it says elementary school 64 to 65, that's a mistake. That should be 64 to 69%. So that's a 5% increase. And if we can scroll down to the next slide. So if we can go back one. So here we have focus areas 3, 4, and 5, and I'll talk briefly about these. So you've heard me talk about the goal that we've been discussing with the board around improving physical conditions and facilities and grounds. So part of this goal is really looking at a tool that we can put in place where we're monitoring all of our schools across the district and really collecting data on the upkeep of and maintenance of our facilities. So every facility and accordingly the grounds as well. And also you see as a goal, looking at putting in place a system, processes, and a tool that allows us to also collect information on work orders and improving in all of those areas. So improving and processing our work orders, improving the physical conditions of our facilities, and improving the physical conditions of our grounds. Under focus area number 4, you'll see that this is a human resource goal. We've shared that piece with you, but we've not been very specific in sharing with you that there is certainly a goal around recruitment and hiring 32 certificated employees. by the end of this school year, June, hiring 78 classified employees, but also looking at improving the onboarding process and timeline and speeding up that process, figuring out what's going on, and really being able to share with the board and the community how we've improved that process. And also there's a recruitment goal of reducing the number of employees who leave our district by 15%. And then you see also as a goal here around looking at training all of our managers, all of our leaders across the district. And what we've done is we've shared the number of managers in each area, whether it's an executive manager, a coordinator, principal, vice principal, a director, and really have specific training around how they are handling grievances, how they conduct investigations, how they sit down with staff and have specific conversations with them around the FRISC model, FRISC documentation. And then also there's training that needs to happen around new contract language from our negotiation in our labor groups. So that's going to happen. And looking at that total number of leaders that we have in our district, we've set a goal of training 50% of those leaders, managers by the end of this year. So having a process in place. Then we also in goal area number 5 or focus area number 5, we've talked about fiscal solvency, specifically looking at producing monthly year-to-date financial reports that accurately reflect how the district spends its money towards our district priority goals, and really getting a clarity on what that report will look like and being able to share that with the board and with the public, and beginning this month as well and sending out those monthly reports. Also, another goal in this area is ensuring a positive budget certification. Next slide. In this area, focus area number 6 is really around communication. And you've heard me talk about the specific goal, strengthening communication channels to elevate student stakeholder engagement with and awareness of district goals, initiatives, events, and solutions in response to issues. So here you can see specifically, you have a series of goals. The first one is around increasing the percentage of content on district-owned channels, likely to increase stakeholder awareness and engagement. And there's a percentage as well, increasing from 31% to 55% by the end of the school year. There's also a goal around increasing the number of sites and departments using official district channels, such as websites, Parent Square, and SMORE. And also there's a percentage in each of those. So from 32% of the school sites to at least 64% of school sites that have official district websites in use or in progress by the end of the year. From 6 more licenses to 10 more licenses. And then from 24 sites and departments trained as of November 22 to at least 42 school sites and central departments trained by the end of the school year. And then also the last goal in this area of communications is to integrate Parent Square smart alert structures into district-wide protocols for crises, issue, and incident communication using input from stakeholders, and to train at least 90% of site administrators or their designees in the use of Parent Square smart alerts by the end of the school year. So we wanted to give you some specifics around those goals, and I will be coming back to the board and share a little bit more about focus area 1 once we get more clarity on that goal as well from the board. And this concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. We also have a student report tonight, correct? Student trustee. Why don't we do the student trustee report and then we'll open it up for questions and comments from the board on both reports. Trustee Miles, am I passing it to you? And Trustee Sampagna?
I believe so. Evelyn, is there anything that you'd like to say to start?
Should we pull up the slides first?
We're bringing it up right now, trustee Stampania.
Then while we wait, why don't we then ask questions from the superintendent report? If there. Oh, yes, let's get the timer up. Oh, well, for the questions first. Remember, everybody, 3 questions. Is there anybody who has questions for Dr. Hurst from his report? Okay, is there any comments from the board? Okay, no need for the timer. Okay, well then we'll just wait for the presentation. Wonderful. Trustee Miles, trustee Stampania, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, just to kick it off, this will be our last student trustee report, and again, thankful that we had the opportunity to work with the board. But anyways, the updates so far are kind of just a repeat from the last student report, but just a refresher. So to recap on information from the communications department and Ms. Liz Sanders and Ms. Summerlin Sigler about the survey, the student resource survey will be released along with the mid-year SEL wellness screener this January. The day is still being confirmed, but we're still considering attending a principals meeting to present the survey, and translations for the survey are completed. And then I'll pass it on to trustee Miles.
We also met with the other student trustees to plan for the reinstatement of the All-Student Congress. These meetings were facilitated by Ms. Myra Alvarado. And to my knowledge, the first All-Student Congress meeting will be on January 26th. I do not remember the exact time, but I believe it's sometime around 6, maybe 6:30.
Thank you, trustees. Are there any questions from the board? Clerk Smith Foltz, go ahead.
All Student Congress, does that meet in person or is that on Zoom or a hybrid? How does the All Student Congress meet?
So far, in my experience, all the meetings have been virtual. I don't know if we are going to be meeting in person since we're all from different school sites. That can be further discussed when the meetings begin to see what people want to do.
Trustee Smith Folds, to my better knowledge, I do think the meeting is going to be replaced over Zoom.
Thank you so much. I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Foltz. Any other questions? Okay, any comments? Clerk Smith Foltz, go ahead.
I do want to thank you both for the hard work. I think the survey is necessary. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of the survey. And I want to thank you for continuing to push that the All Student Congress comes back and that it is done with fruition and we keep going because I think the All Student Congress is very important. I'm complete. Thank you both.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Foltz. Thank you, Trustee Miles and Trustee Stampania and Dr. Hurst. Okay, we're going to move to action items. We're moving to item E1, proposal to change public comment. This item is from Clerk Smith Foltz and myself. We're presenting to the full board. Our current format for public comment is, as we all know, 1 hour at the beginning of each meeting. And that is the only opportunity that we agreed upon a year and a half ago on the format. What we are proposing to change is 30-minute public comment at the beginning of the meeting, keeping 2 minutes per speaker. And then 10-minute public comment after each discussion item and action item to allow the public to be able to give us their input after the presentation from staff. And then 10-minute public comment opportunity at the end of the agenda. Some of us will recognize this format as what it used to be. I look at Trustee Reckler because her and I used to do it at every meeting. So we are recommending going back. Now, this is a reminder, this is our current proposal. If in a few meetings, and we're going to start at the first meeting in February, if after a few meetings, we see that it's not working, I welcome the input and we can pivot, change it, or go back to the current format. So I just ask us to try it. Now, there is a typo that I added, and I apologize. Under the recommendation, it says by unofficial vote. There are no unofficial votes. We do have to take a vote on the proposal. But then again, if it doesn't work, I'd be happy to agendize changes to the format after trying it. So I'll open it up for questions from the rest of the board. Or actually, Clerk Smith, is there anything you'd like to add before I open it up for our colleagues?
No, President Gonzalez-Hoy, I am fine. I think you explained it very well. I'm looking forward to our colleagues voting this in. I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Folds. Trustee Reckler, Trustee Christian, Trustee Miles, and Trustee Sampagna. Any questions from you? Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
I do have two questions. The first one is, when you say whether it works or not, what would your indicators be about success, or what would you be looking for?
That is a great question. Thank you for holding me accountable. So we didn't really talk about accountability except for if we start hearing from the public that it does not work. So if you were to hear from your constituents that they don't like the new format because of X or Y reason, I think that's informal data that we can bring as a board and you can send to the agenda setting team, including Dr. Hurst, and we can consider it as it comes. But if you have suggestions on how to do that, apart from one idea that we discussed, is that when we do our self-evaluation, when the community does an evaluation of us, like we have said that we're going to do later in the spring, we can include this as a question. How has been your perception of the changes in public comment? I'd be happy to consider it, and we can have a further conversation at the retreat about that.
Okay, thank you. And the next one is, what is your date for a check-in?
Great question. I don't have a date. I'd welcome if anyone has a suggestion on a date. I think trying it 2 months might be a good idea, and we can maybe do a check-in at the first meeting in April.
I agree.
Okay. Would that work, Trustee Reckler?
Yes, and I would make a motion if you would like that.
Sure.
Is to propose a change in public comment as presented, and we will do a check-in at the first meeting in April.
Smith
Perfect.
Folds, seconds.
Thank you. Trustee Christian, do you have any questions before we move to a vote? Wonderful. Any comments? Clerk Smith Folds?
I am looking forward to bringing back public comment. I'm looking forward to having it after the presentations. I think that that's going to be a benefit to our community. I think it adds to our transparency that the majority of the board is focused on and intentional around. So I am looking forward to seeing this change implemented at the board level. I'm complete. Thank you, President Gonzalez-Hoy, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Folds. And Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
I'm in support of trying it because as someone who gave a lot of public comment, it would be impossible for me to give a decent public comment without seeing a presentation first. So I think that's a good thing and empowers the board with the best information before decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more hands, so why don't we move to a vote? We'll start with Trustee Miles.
Miles, yay.
Trustee Sampagna,
Sampagna, yes.
Trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
Clerk Smith Folds,
Smith Folds, yes.
Trustee Christian,
Christian, yes.
and I'm a yes, and it passes. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we're gonna move to item E2, Williams Lawsuit Complaint Quarterly Report. Mr. Freeze, is it your item?
Yes, thank you. Let me share my screen here. Where to go? Actually, I lost that item. There we go. Tonight, we're asking the board to approve the quarterly Williams report for the period between October 1st, 2022 through December 2022. We had one facilities complaint and one complaint that was resolved.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Board, are there any questions? No? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I will go ahead and move Williams report. I think that's all I have to say for the quarter.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Let's move to a vote. Trustee Miles,
Miles, yeah.
trustee Sampagna,
Sumpania,
thank you. Trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
thank you. Clerk Smith will step that way for a second. So trustee Christian,
Christian, yes.
and I'm a yes, and it passes. Thank you. Okay, ratification of one-year contract extension of the 2021-22 successor agreement with the West Contra Costa Administrators Association and approve associated salary schedules for WCCAA members. Mr. Taneshchuk, is this your item?
Good afternoon, President, Clerk, Dr. Hurst, trustees, and community. Today, I'm here on behalf of the district, as well as the WCCAA, requesting that the board ratify the one-year successor agreement on the extension of the current 21-22 contract. West Contra Costa Administrators Association, being deemed as WCCAA, contract expired June 30th, 2022. The district and WCCA met over a period of several months to come to a one-year contract extension of the successor agreement, which would be in effect from July 1, 22, the expiration on June 30th, 2023. The one-year contract extension was in the form of an MOU, which was approved by both WCCA and WCCUSD. Oops, sorry. The terms of the one-year contract extension include site leadership retention and attraction of top-level administrators, ensuring leadership positions are competitive with the surrounding districts, and continued support of the 80% Kaiser rate for health and welfare coverage for eligible employees. The recommendation is that here for both WCCUSD and WCCAA, that the one-year contract extension for the 21-22 successor agreement was within the guidelines and parameters outlined by the Board of Education. It is recommended that this board ratify the one-year contract extension and implement the revised salary schedule as noted on the board agenda. The financial impact of this, again, was within the FICMAT in their review. In addition, the terms of the agreement were shared and discussed with Contra Costa Office of Education prior to the settlement, as well as an AB 1200, which was disclosed and submitted to the county office as well. The adopted budget on June 29th included many components of this agreement as part of our ongoing expenditures, including salary, longevity, and the contribution for health and welfare. The total estimated cost of the settlement is approximately $1,090,938,000 from a variety of funding sources. There will not be any required changes to the overall expenditures within the budget as a result of the WCCA agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board, are there any questions? Trustee Reckler?
I do have a question, and that is that even though we're positive and the county, the county still has to do a check off, correct, on the documents? And have we heard from them and have we received a letter yet?
I'm sorry, Trustee Reckler, but I didn't get your entire question. But as far as what I got is that it was submitted and approved, and I'll ask Dr. McIntyre to comment further on that, but it was approved by an AB 1200 was submitted and approved by the county.
Okay, just to be really direct, did we get a letter from the county?
Yes, the county did review the AB 1200 submission materials for both the agreements you're seeing tonight and did provide a letter in concurrence with our evaluation of those costs within what's currently budgeted.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Okay, I will go ahead and move E3, ratify one-year contract extension of the 2021-2022 successor agreement with West Contra Costa Administrators Association and approve associated salary schedules for WCCAA members.
Thank-
Smith, seconds.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments? Okay, let's move to a vote. Trustee Miles?
Miles, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Trustee Miles. Was there a comment? Trustee, no?
My comment is congratulations, and I'm glad to see this.
Thank you. Sorry, Trustee Miles, go ahead.
Miles, yeah.
Trustee Sampagna?
Miles, Simpania, yes.
Thank you. Trustee Reckler?
Reckler, yes.
Clerk Smith Folds?
Smith votes yes.
Trustee Christian?
Christian, yes.
And I'm a yes, and it passes. Thank you. And then item E4, I believe, is also yours. And we have a guest.
Thank you, President. We are here jointly, being Kim Chamberlain, President of SSA, as well as myself on behalf of the district, in front of requesting for the board that they ratify the successor agreement between WCCUSD and SSA for 2 years.
SSA IAPTE Local 21 would very much like for the board to vote to ratify this contract. We have had high level success in the focus areas for a tentative agreement. Those are SSA members are the foundation of the support systems of the district and are also residents of our district. And this agreement provides stability and values to their service. The agreement focused on ensuring that the technical positions are competitive with the private sector in ensuring strong support for our students and sites. The summer work schedule was more clearly defined with an emphasis on student and site support, improvement in flexibility, staff support students and staff with the clarification of language as it relates to extra pay for extra work, improving member evaluation through electronic means and minimum of every 2 years, updating language per ed code as it relates to temporary work in a job classification and unfilled positions. Focus on bilingual communications to our employees and community through establishment of bilingual stipend. Agreement on support of 90% of the Kaiser rate and health and welfare coverage for eligible employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chamberlain. The contract expired on June 30th, 2022, and we are here jointly requesting the ratification by the board for a 2-year successor agreement expiring June 30th, 2024. Again, this contract was overwhelmingly supported by the SSA membership at 90%. And we're respectfully requesting that the board ratify this agreement and implement the revised salary schedule that was posted as part of the pre-cease, as well as the TAs, which were noted on there as well. AB 1200 was submitted to the county and approved, and as Dr. McIntyre indicated, we did receive a letter of approval from the county. In addition, the terms and conditions of this agreement were shared and discussed with Contra Costa County Office of Education prior to coming here this evening. The adopted budget on June 29th included many components of this agreement as part of our ongoing expenditures, including salary and contributions for health and welfare. The estimated cost of the settlement is approximately $1,350,776 from the general fund. The adjustments were built in to the ongoing budget and next year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you both. Are there any questions, board? Okay, can I have please a motion?
I move that the board ratifies the 2022-2024 successor agreement with School Supervisors Association and IFPTE Local 21.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Wonderful. Are there any comments? Trustee Reckler?
Congratulations. Glad to see it.
Thank you. Any others? Okay, let's move to a vote. Trustee Miles,
Miles, yeah.
trustee Sampagna,
Stefania, yes.
trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
clerk Smith Folds,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Christian,
Christian, yes.
and I'm a yes. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, item E5 was left by accident. So without objection, I will remove it from the agenda. Are there any, is there any of? We're removing it completely. Yeah, we're pulling it completely. Is there any objection? Okay, so we're gonna move to item, thank you, E6, which Mr. Freeze, I believe is your item.
Thank you. So tonight we're asking the board to approve the application for Ms. GMA to the CBOC Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. She's an El Cerrito resident and she would fill the term for the El Cerrito residence position for the term of 2 years from January 11, 2023 to January 10, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Are there any questions? Okay, can I have a motion, please? Got it. Thank you. Well, if there are no objections, we can appoint Miss, please excuse me, Miss Ma to the CBOC. Are there any objections? Okay, perfect. Thank you, everybody. She's appointed, Mr. Freeze. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move to our discussion item F1, which is our community schools update. And whose item is this? Is Miss Huffman? Is it your item? Okay.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Hurst. Tonight, the Educational Services Department will be presenting on community schools, providing an update on community schools. We have 22 sites across West Contra Costa Unified School District. We're currently awarded a California Community Partnership Implementation Grant. West Contra Costa Unified School District received the 5th highest California Community Partnership Implementation Grant, slightly exceeding $30 million. The California Community School Grant is intended to expand and enhance our current community school strategy. This presentation is intended to provide the community with information about why the community school strategy is critical to enhance the key elements of community school implementation across our district. And at this time, I have my director, Ms. Martine Blake, who is on Zoom, and she will be taking you through the slides. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, board. So I'm going to jump right into it. Ms. Huffman gave a wonderful introduction. So I want to start us off with talking about what does this grant opportunity mean to our district and how are we envisioning what we're calling Community Schools 2.0. The state of California has allocated an unprecedented amount towards community schools, which we call a community schools movement, otherwise known as the California Community Schools Partnership Program grant. Our district received an implementation grant to sites who opted in to our grant process, which I'll talk about later in the presentation. The state made the decision, we have 30 school sites applied for the grant. The state made the decision to fund only sites who had 80% or more free and reduced meal eligible student enrollment. This is a 5-year opportunity for our district. as we approach the 5th year, we have an opportunity to apply for an additional 2 years of funding, bringing us to 7 years of funding. As Ms. Huffman indicated, our district was awarded a little bit over $30 million. And, you know, we are not the 5th largest district within our state. And so this is a real opportunity that we are leveraging, putting our district on the map. This is our first time receiving this grant, and we are really designing a program with community that will give the district a competitive edge, so that we can also leverage this opportunity to apply for even more high-profile funding opportunities, such as federal grants like the Federal Full Service Community School Grant or the Federal Neighborhood Grant. In addition to Promise Neighborhood Grant. In addition to funding our district, the state has also funded statewide technical assistance centers across the nation, and they've funded local technical assistance for districts as well. We participate in both in the state technical assistance opportunity. And so some of the slides that I'll show you tonight are guidance that have been given from the state. Our Contra Costa Office of Education was also awarded funding to be our technical assistance local support. They have not yet rolled out their technical assistance program, but we will be part of that when it rolls out. The goal of the state for this grant is that every high need school will become a community school over the next 7 years. And they are defining the high need by the free and reduced meal eligibility. Our goal as a district is to become a community school district and really live the values that are embedded throughout community schools. Some of the things that this grant can fund is support, obviously, for districts to continue community schools and expand the strategy. Staffing can be funded, including a community schools coordinator and or contractors. We can fund community stakeholder and engagement strategies, and we can also fund integrated services that are intended to support the whole child. Next slide, please. Thank you. In addition to this unprecedented funding opportunity, the state for the first time has also introduced a framework for all districts to work towards and more clearly defining their vision for community school implementation. On the top left-hand corner, you will see the 4 pillars of community schools that really are intended to illustrate that community schools use a whole child approach with an integrated focus on academics, health, social services, youth and community development, and community engagement. For our first couple of years of implementation, we will be focusing on pillars 3 and 4, because this is really the heart of the work. If we don't have practices that really bring our staff and community to the table and allow our families and larger community to co-design what school looks like in a way that's really going to authentically meet their needs, then we would not be a community school. This framework also really illustrates the state's intention to move the perception of what it means to be a community school. This is a school improvement strategy that is really intended to enable districts and schools to work closely with educators, students, and families, again, to understand deeply and address their unique needs, acknowledge their asset, and design a system that's really going to acknowledge their aspirations. The heart of this work is collective impact, collaboration, and deep and authentic engagement. And what you'll see in the cornerstone commitments, as well as the conditions of learning, is that the theory behind this framework is if we do these things well and collaboratively and authentically, then we are building a system that dismantles inequities by empowering the community, including parents, students, CDOs, and staff, to collaboratively design their curriculum and programs to support the whole child, not just as a school district, but in collaboration with CDOs and local government to align community resources and realize a shared vision for success. We are focusing on In terms of the 4 proven practices, we are focusing in these first few years on practices 1 and practice 2. So we're working hard to really solidify community school coordinators as leaders at the school site so that they can deeply embed engagement into the strategies and the priorities of our schools. Next slide, please. So a little bit about where we've been. We as a district are not new to community schools. This work builds on a rich tradition of community and community schools organizing in West Contra Costa. So in 2007, our district planted the seeds for our current community school strategy with the establishment of school-based health centers at 6 comprehensive high schools. Since then, we've deepened our work tremendously. In year 21-22, 24 schools participated in the district's community school network. And in 2011, we also deepened and solidified our partnership with the city of San Pablo, who invests over $1 million in this strategy annually. Next slide, please. And so a little bit about the expansion that this opportunity has afforded us. We, through this grant, have expanded to 6 new sites, which you can see here on the screen. And we have also expanded our strategy. I'm sorry, the charger that I'm using is not working. We have also expanded our strategy at high schools. So historically, we've had wellness center managers at Kennedy's and Richmond High. This year, we have also placed community school directors at those sites to really anchor and better, more deeply align health center partnerships with school priorities. And so we're excited to launch that expansion as well. Next slide, please. In spring of 2022, our office, the Office of Family and Community Engagement, launched an intensive discovery process. And we really,
Ms. Martin, I think that if you can hear me, you might have frozen. Ms. Huffman, would you like to continue the presentation?
Yes, I will continue.
Thank you.
So in spring 2022, the West Contra Costa Unified School District Family and Community Engagement Office launched an intensive discovery process with 3 interrelated objectives: identifying critical elements for districts' California Community Schools partnerships with the implementation grant, and continue building the basis for an engagement in the long-term continuous improvement of the district's community schools effort, and then an opt-in process for grant anchored to engagement. Next slide, please. The learnings of those key discovery activities. The wide-ranging discovery process included 3 primary activities: a self-assessment at existing and potential community schools, a total of 31 schools, a survey for parents, students, educators, staff, and community members at existing school communities, a total of 1,171 participants, and focus groups involving students, families, labor, and community-based organizations involving over 75 participants. Next slide, please. This is some of the school self-assessment results. So as you can see from the rubric, you can go from exploring, emerging, maturing to excelling. And so it asks, if you have integrated student supports and the number of schools and where they ranked. If you actually have family and community engagement, this is again self-reporting. Collaborative leadership and practices for educators and administrators, and expanded learning time and opportunities, which again are the 4 pillars of full service community schools. Next slide, please. Selected survey results, the school self-assessment comment. Comment. We have been working on all of these pillars for a long time and believe that for us to move to excelling isn't necessarily about adding more services, but about aligning and strengthening our systems. This will require time and training and collaboration. One area for improvement is family and community engagement. We're thinking about how to build opportunities for regular positive connection and collaboration with families so that engagement becomes an expectation of and regular practice in our community. To this end, and in service to both the family engagement and student support pillars, we would like to invest more resources in developing a positive school climate. This would include consistent communication with families, school-wide events and celebrations, community outreach, and more opportunities to develop deeper and productive relationships with and between all stakeholders. Next slide, please.
And Ms. Huff,
Thank
I
you,
believe-
Larisha. I'm back.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
we are now on the school transformation slide.
Thank you. If I could just emphasize a little bit more around the school self-assessment results. Some of the major things or themes that came out of that assessment included that it's a really important, and this assessment, I think Larisha shared this, was inclusive of our principals, our staff, our students, our parents, as well as community. And one of the things that resonated was it's important for the district to build on its strengths. Our organizing has been really strong to date, and we want to see more community school successes lifted up as models so that we can continue to put the district on the map. Other themes that emerged was it's really important for us to create and continuously communicate a clear vision. So sites really called, or community really called out a need to know what is the North Star, to know when I've reached excelling in terms of community schools implementation. They also shared that it's really important to prioritize family and community engagement work. With notable exceptions, families and community members did not generally feel included as community school partners in the work, in spite of being essential to our success. So in looking at the outcomes from that self-assessment, you can see that family and community engagement was one of the areas where most sites chose exploring and emerging. Sites also emphasize, and community also emphasized, that the pandemic created significant need for community, and it's really important that we continue to procure services that are going to focus on meeting those basic needs. And the other thing that came out in terms of expanded learning time and opportunities is that was the second area where most sites chose exploring and emerging. Sites wanted more support to really integrate expanded learning into their school-wide plans to ensure cohesion. The quote that Larisha read really summarizes the feedback that we got around community schools. This work is about alignment and systems enhancement. We can have all of the services in the world, but without systems and a focus on collaboration, we will continue to perpetuate the same outcomes. So folks really felt like it was important to build sustainable systems that will last over time, regardless of who's in leadership. These systems will remain the same and reflect what we believe as a system. And lastly, they felt like relationships were really critical. Systems to ensure equity and collaboration are key to success in this work. Well, not only to success in this work, but also critical to school transformation. The slide that you see in front of you is a slide from the state, really emphasizing the continuum of what progress looks like as we move towards school transformation. And so our goal is really to get to collective impact. You can see around individual impact, well, disorder and confusion, folks are just all over the place. So that kind of goes back to that quote. You have all the resources in the world, but if they're not coordinated and if they don't have a voice, they're not going to be truly embedded or committed to our strategies. So it's also not good enough to have alignment or coordinated impact where folks are clear on the goals, but still kind of acting in isolation. We want to get to the place where we're co-creating together as a community. Next slide, please. So where are we going? In the grant, We really listened to what we heard from community to identify the priorities of the grant. Again, engagement and collaborative leadership were really important themes that emerged from that assessment. And so this year, we are launching engagement strategies as well as collaborative leadership strategies for our staff to really focus on where are we strong with engaging our community and partnering with our community, and where are we strong in terms of collaboration internally, and where do we need to grow. So we're kind of in that first part right now. We've had our first listening session with community. We are preparing to launch a survey to community around where we stand with engagement. And we are also mapping our assets both at the site level as well as within community. And we're doing this mapping with community so that we can identify gaps. And we're doing this work with the focus on equity. So we're looking at not only what assets do we have, but who's engaging in those assets. And what might we need to shift to be more equitable in terms of our engagement. In terms of staff engagement, we are focusing on or preparing to focus on instructional leadership team practices. So you will see an RFP come out soon, where this year we'll be doing some listening to sites to really understand what practices exist for collaboration around student achievement and instruction in the classroom, and where do we need to continue to grow. We're going to take all of this listening and work with community to develop a set of universal engagement practices and IoT practices that we'll use both at the site level as well as at the central level. In 2023, we're going to really focus on capacity building to ensure that our collaborative staff infrastructures are codified and really clear. So we'll be focusing on those systems, IoT, climate and care teams, and parent-student advisory committees, and also offering PD to ensure professional development, to ensure that folks are really empowered to lift the universal practices that we're looking to design. And then in 2024 and 2025, we will be focusing on sustaining and strengthening the systems that I've named, as well as sustaining and strengthening our funding. Next slide, please. Our funding priorities are named here. Sites received discretionary grant funds ranging from a little bit over 200,000 to about 232,000. These numbers were determined by the state in their funding formula. They funded sites according to their enrollment. And so that determines where folks fell on the range. And we are also funding a set of universal supports. So centrally, we will have 3 community school managers who will support engagement at the site level and build capacity and provide technical assistance at the site level. 3 positive school climate managers that are building capacity around climate and care teams and restorative practices. IoT coaching, funding for folks to attend the annual community schools conference, as well as extra time for teacher training.
Ms. Huffman, I believe that she froze again, if you would like to.
Okay. The funding priorities for collaborative and data-driven systems and support. There's evaluation. There's a grant writer on retainer. The San Pablo Richmond Family Resource Center, secondary college and career after-school programs, and capacity building to ensure cohesiveness from the classroom to the board room. Next slide. In terms of the steering committees, this is hard for me to read, but community-wide leadership, the structure of the collaborative leadership structure includes community-wide leadership that will help with vision, policy, resources, and alignment. And then you have intermediary leadership, which is the district steering committee, which includes the site coordinator and management at the staff, and they help with planning for the full service community school grant. And then you have school site leadership, which includes also planning and implementation. Next slide, please. And then we have our West Contra Costa community school systems. So we have a systems change collaborative, which is a cross-sector, which are the cross-sector policy makers. This includes community partners, principals, a director of family and community engagement. It includes funders who would be on the policy makers, could be city officials. And then you have our district and community steering committee, which also includes our director, but this also can include UTR members, WCCAA members, parents, community members, and partners as well. But the Systems Change Collaborative is really thinking about our mayors, our city officials, our different counties. How are they all participating in the Systems Change Collaborative? And then you have your community schools action collaborative, which is at your site level. So this includes the parents from that school, the community school director from that school site, teachers, teamsters, and SSA members who would be on that community schools action collaborative. So it starts with the system, and then there's the district steering committee, and then there's the action collaboratives, which are at the school site. Next slide, please. Currently, the Family and Community Engagement Office, along with all school districts that receive the full service community school grant, they have to do a needs and asset assessment, and they're currently in the process of doing that now. So there is a student survey, there's a staff survey, there is a family survey, there's neighborhood interviews and oral histories. There's family cookie chats and phone calls. There's staff focus groups and interviews, and there are student focus groups. And this is really all about getting their information to define what are the community priorities, what is high need for every single school in terms of being a full service community school. What are the wraparound services that our students and families and partners are saying that they need at their school site? That information is what helps determine or helps provide information to the steering committee and also to the collaboratives to determine what resources to provide at each school site. Next slide, please. I kind of named some of this, but the needs and asset assessment of the what will be a process to deeply engage with and learn from 50% or more families and 80% or more of West Contra Costa students, school staff, and community partners to understand what matters most to them and what they envision for their school and community. The who, teams of stakeholders will lead this process. Teams will include community school directors, administrators, SCOWs, expanded learning program coordinators, teachers, classified staff, etc. The how, they're going to be utilizing tools and training provided by West Contra Costa. Site teams will develop and implement plans for engaging their peers through a variety of strategies. This process will require the deep engagement of a disaggregated supermajority of stakeholders through listening, relationship building, and trust. And then the why, the process is intended to leverage, synthesize existing data and fill in any gaps in our knowledge and promote understanding around how to leverage and build upon existing school and community assets in new ways. And then the when, and you can see here that they've already started. And so they're currently now in the deep listening section, implementing additional data collection strategies, and they'll be moving to analyzing and planning in March through June. Next slide. Key challenges moving forward. Continuing pandemic recovery issues, declining enrollment for West Contra Costa Unified, deep systemic inequities, long lead times for assessing CDE funding, and maintaining collaboration at every level across all systems. Next slide. That concludes the presentation for full service community schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huffman, Ms. Martin. Are there any questions, board? Thank you, Clerk Smith-Foltz, and then we'll go to Trustee Reckler.
Wait until the timer's up so that it's equitable for everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. The timers for the comments though.
Oh, for the.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. Clerk Smith-Foltz, go ahead.
Thank you. So, Dr. Hurst, one of the questions that I have is a sustainability plan, right? When this funding runs out, how are we going to maintain and sustain what we put in and built up over these next couple of years, right? How are we looking forward to, 2025, 2030, 2036, 2037, because what I heard in the presentation is we want to be a community school district. So that means we have to start planning now about how that is going to balloon out to all 54 plus schools, right? And what does that look like? And how do we use these schools as models to the next schools, and the sustainability around funding and resources and support? So that's my first question. Are we thinking about that?
I'm going to ask Ms. Huffman, has Ed Services been thinking about that?
Yes, we have. It's been an ongoing conversation, thinking about how do we sustain full service community school work, having full service community school directors, and also all the wraparound services. We have talked about how can, every year we rewrite the LCAP. And so part of that thinking is long-term, once or if these funds run out, how do we actually utilize LCAP, our Title I dollars, to ensure that we continue with being a full service community school district. So this is something we've been thinking about. We've actually also been talking about the fact that our full service community school position currently is not a district position. So there's also a desire to ensure that these are actual internal positions. Typically, these are held through our CBOs. So our CBOs are providing the full service community school director. So it's also thinking about what is the staffing that's needed to maintain it and provide, because a full service community school director in many ways acts like a case manager. And so how do we have that position internally and maintain that, and then ensure that we're continuing to provide schools with additional resources through the LCAP and other means.
And if I can also add, we have a grant writing contract for a grant writer on retainer, where this partnership would allow us to research and identify resources and funding streams to continue to support sustainability around funding. So you'll see that contract come to the board soon.
Thank you. President Gonzalez-Hoy, my second question is, Dr. Hurst, are we going to have an opportunity to hear from the full committee that worked on community schools? Are they going to come to the board and speak to us also? And maybe that's a question for Ms. Huffman.
Thoughts, Ms. Huffman?
I believe that was the intended plan for more presentation beyond Ms. Blake. But Ms. Blake, do you want to answer that in terms of thoughts around the full team coming to present or talk about full service community schools?
Yes, we would love to present collaboratively. The state recommends that 2 presentations are done every year, one to just outline the strategy and one to at the end of every year throughout the duration of the grant to update the board on success with implementation. So at subsequent meetings, we would be happy to come and present as a support collaborative.
Thank you so much. President Gonzalez-Hoy, I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Reckler?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It's very exciting. I'm very glad to finally see this. So I do have a few questions. The first one is, beyond what we saw here, which is a good start, do you have a more detailed strategic plan for this work? And it would look something like what the action item is, who owns it, priority, low, medium, high, your due date, how you're measuring success, and budget attachments?
We do. The state required that every district submits an implementation plan. And so on that implementation plan, we have a project management outline called a MOCA, where we indicate who's responsible, deadlines. It doesn't have budget on it, but it is a full fleshed out project plan that we monitor from month to month.
Okay. And then does your governing board have to approve your budget or your plan at all?
No, the support collaborative does not have to approve the plan, but the support collaborative is set up in a way where the plan is developed and we consistently look at our outcomes around engagement to ensure that the plan is co-created. So we're consistently looking at that plan together, and it's consistently evolving the more we engage.
Okay, and then I guess we're gonna hear from you twice a year? Which
hope so.
actually sounds like the right amount, like every 6 months, that sounds about right. Okay, and then I do have
Yes.
I do have some comments at the end.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Wonderful. Let's move to comments. I think I heard trustee Reckler had comments. Go ahead. Why don't you get us started?
Okay, so,
Oh, I'm sorry. Waiting on the timer. Thank you. Go ahead.
okay, so I did want to say that first.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry,
it
I
went away.
stopped. I didn't- Cannot do, I cannot do two things at once.
I want to make sure everyone gets feedback.
I'm good with that.
Same thing with.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I do want to say with slide 10, I actually do really agree with that comment on slide 10 about not necessarily adding more, but deepening the work with training. So that really did resonate with me, and also family and community engagement, I think really are, I think that comment was really excellent. So thank you, whoever made that. Second, I would like to see slide 9, which has those four columns with, whether you're emerging or maturing. I think that should be a part of your overall reporting out packet. I think that's actually pretty good. And then I absolutely would like to see 2 presentations a year on this. And I do recommend that your implementation plan has a budget attached to it so that we know where you are, but you know where you are too, whether you're underspending or overspending. And I look forward to a build out of the work. I think it's great. Finally, I know they don't qualify, but one more time, trustee area 5 has schools that have 60% of their students that are free or reduced lunch. We don't get enough to serve them in those schools. And so while this grant doesn't apply to them, still, what can we do to serve our schools that are in that impossible band of being high need but not getting enough money? Thank you so much.
Thank you, trustee Reckler. Clerk Smith Folds, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Clerk Smith Folds. Go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Hurst, I'm really excited about this work. I want this to be something that the district really intentionally focuses on, because I think it can be a benefit for those marginalized students that have been left out of the educational system, that have been pushed to the edges of the educational system. And this is an intentional way of bringing them in and focusing on them and their needs, and making the community have such a high level of investment of success, because everyone wants their students to succeed and their children to succeed, and having the resources and the supports in place for those students, I think will make this district be the best version of itself. Once those students are at that level of success, everyone rises. So I really am looking forward to the district working with the community, working with the committee, bringing back this information and focusing on those schools, and showing how, with that intentionality behind it, we will see the success of all of our students. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Folds. Any other comments? Okay, my only comment, thank you, is I'm just very excited for this work to continue. Ms. Huffman, Ms. Martin, Dr. Hurst, thank you. And thank you to everybody in the collaborative and UTR and everybody who got us this funding. As to someone who taught at a school that was considered community school for a while, through the city of San Pablo that gave us funds. It's a game changer, right? That's how we truly support the whole child with our lack of funds, right? So, we got to continue to move in this direction. I think that this is how we support our most marginalized students, like Clerk Smith-Fold said. I look forward to hearing how we make progress. One request, I would love to actually go on a tour with maybe the board and see for ourselves how community schools being implemented in our district. I think that would be really powerful. I mean, some of us have seen it, right? And here and there, like going to Perry's, right? Or going to different schools and seeing what they're doing. But I would love for us to dive deeper. on that work and seeing it for ourselves and celebrate the work that's happening at the site. So I would welcome that and thank everybody who's involved. Okay, board, let's move forward to our last item. So we pulled item C3, thank you, from consent. The reason why we pulled it is because we have become aware of an opportunity to further save taxpayer funds. I would like to ask the board that we authorize our Chief Technology Officer, Tracy Logan, to go back to get the best and final offer on this contract. And we give approval to Dr. Hurst to give the board and that we give Dr. Hurst, that we as a board give consent to ratify up to $315,000. To explain it further, the reason why I'm asking for this is because our infrastructure is literally breaking. As we experienced this week in some of our schools, and we saw the emails that were going out. If we wait to the next board meeting, as talking to our IT department and our Chief Technology Officer, we run the risk that our systems are going to break, and that's going to affect schools. So if there are no objections, I would like us to approve Dr. Hurst and Ms. Logan to be able to go and renegotiate the best offer. That's it. So why don't we open it up for some questions? Oh, she has Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to pull it up now. So what's your cap that you wanna, did you give him a cap on this, or it's just to try and go
It's both. Sorry, it's both. Go and renegotiate the rate and a cap of 315,000.
Is it not $315,000 now?
Yes, that's correct.
So what would they be? So what would they be I'm sorry, what would they be renegotiating? If they can't, it just goes through? Is that how I understand it to work? Okay, so you're going back to the vendor and you're just gonna say, hey, last best final, what can you give us off of this?
Yeah.
If not, it remains at this amount.
Yeah, so we
Got
became,
it, okay.
we became aware tonight that there's a chance that it might be lower than what actually was brought forward today. So it's just giving staff a chance to actually go back and renegotiate the rate one more time. And then whatever they renegotiate, that's what we're approving tonight.
Great, okay, thank you.
No, thank you for those questions. Okay, are there any objections for us to approve that? Wonderful, so moved.
Do you want me to move it, or you're good though?
No objections, you're good to go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, so that was our last item for the night. We do have comments.
C6 was pulled completely.
C6 was moved completely, yeah. So we have now comments from the board. I'll start with our student trustees. Trustee Miles, do you have any comments? And could we please put up the clock? We'll do 2 minutes for end comments. Sorry, Trustee Miles, 1 second. Thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Miles.
Okay, just gonna make sure the time. Okay. Wow, this ended a lot faster than I thought it would, and now I'm kind of sad. I'm used to being here till like 10 and now I get to go home. That's that. Wow. Okay. I just want to say again, it's been a great experience. Thank you to Trustee Smithfolds and Clerk Smithfolds and President Gonzalez for all the help this term, I guess, semester. And I made a lot of connections and I'm really glad about that. I really like the opportunity to work with people and learn new ideas and new perspectives, because there are a lot of technical aspects to the district that most people don't really know or think about unless they're really tuned into these meetings. And I think more people should be like aware of what goes on. I don't really know what much else to say because I think I covered a lot to begin with, but just thank you for the wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, trustee Miles. Trustee Sampagna? Do you have a comment? Just give us 1 second. Let's restart the clock. Go ahead.
I'm basically repeating what Trustee Miles said. At the end of the night is just coming to realization like, wow, I had to say goodbye to my seat, the little sign in front of the table. And it's truly just been an experience, a journey. And again, I want to show thanks to the whole board, especially President Gonzalez Hoy, Clerk Smith-Folds, and Dr. Hurst especially for their help having me to help Trustee Miles and I adjust to the board. And again, I'm gonna miss this, like just on the seat. And I'm gonna miss like seeing all the familiar faces in public comment, especially UTR, like John, Jesus, and just everyone else that comes to the meetings and always commits to making sure that everyone just gets an opportunity to speak. And honestly, this opportunity to be a student representative, if you want to have your voice speaking, you have to go for it. And I want to bitterfully, but pass on the seat to the next student trustees. And I just want to welcome them to this awesome opportunity that they're going to have. And so on the 25th, you are going to be able to meet Daniela and Kaylee as the next student trustees. And so I just hope they get as great of a welcome as I did and Trustee Miles did. And thank you for the time on the board, and I hope to work with you again in the future.
Thank you so much, trustee Sampagna. We're gonna move trustee Reckler. Do you have comments tonight? Well, let's just wait for the clock. There you go. Go ahead. Thank you.
No, right, I'm not gonna say, is that me now? Okay, I don't know. So I want to start out first offering my heartfelt condolences to the Wu Shepherd family, extended family and friends, and school community, Terra Hills and Mar Vista school communities. And it's just a reminder to live your best life every day, because this was not an expected passing. And, just, I'm terribly sorry. And for everybody else, really live your life and be your best every day. After that, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. Welcome back. And thank everybody who's working on the flooding and facility issues. I myself didn't have power for 21 hours. So, it's I'm glad for the rain, but I really don't want it all at once, but here we are. Congratulations to new SSA officers and ASAT officers. Thank you for stepping up to leadership. Thank you to our student trustees. It was great. Trustee Sampagna, I hope you feel better, and please come back next week so we can take a picture with you too. I'm excited for the new trustees to come and join us. I also want to say that the sound in here has never been better. I still can't hear the online, but I'm just so happy you don't have to do anything else. This is just such a market improvement. So thank you. I love this seat. I've never been happier. So thank you on that. And then I am hoping that you will reach out to Richmond Charter Academy, I guess, Richmond College Prep with the parent who came in. I'm not sure what our responsibilities are, but as the authorizer, we do have responsibilities to make that right and to make sure that people are brought to justice there. And then finally, that's pretty much it. I know we had some rumors about a contract committee. So if that does happen, I do have some ideas. So I'll save them and wish everybody a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, trustee Reckler. We're gonna move to Clerk Smith-Folds.
Thank you, everyone. I have a couple of points. One, I want to thank the student trustees. You all did so well, and you will really be missed. You had left big shoes to fill. So I'm looking forward to the next trustees, and you guys are always your WCCUSD board family. So you are always welcome here, and you call and we will answer the phones. Thank you, President Gonzalez Hoy, for facilitating such an efficient and impactful meeting. It was great. Finally, I want to thank all the teachers and staff and all you have done during this massive rainy weather. You have really shown yourselves to be of true integrity and grit, and you always show up. I want us as a board to look at how we deploy our resources and supports to our schools when they have these types of issues, and what we can do to support them at a drop of a hat, because that's what we need to do. We need to become proactive and not reactive to these situations. Finally, Martin Luther King Day is coming up. Please go out and serve. Please go out and make sure that you are understanding just how amazing of a man that he was and what a true legacy he left for all of us, Black people and people of color and everyone in this entire nation and world. I think that's actually it. Look, I have 34 seconds. That's it. Thank you so much, and everyone have a great, great night.
Thank you, Clerk Smith Bowles. Trustee Christian. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. You.
Yes, I wanted to say, this was a great meeting and appreciate the new twist to it. And yeah, this is cool. And so I also want to say to the trustees, we appreciate you guys. And as students, and we appreciate all what you have done. And like Trustee Smith Bowles said, you paid the way for the other one to come and be able to do the same thing. And it's just like, man, time just moves so fast. We got the chance to meet quite a few of the students since we've been on the board. And I enjoy connecting and knowing, more about you, from your school site. I just want to say also to the everyone this year, we're gonna have a good year. Even through the struggles and ups and downs, we're gonna keep on moving because we're gonna make it better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trustee Christian. Dr. Hurst, do you have any comments tonight? Sorry, just wait for the clock. Go ahead.
No comments, sir, but thank you for
Okay,
asking.
no worries.
You called me off guard.
Surprised you there. All right, putting in your toes. Okay, my comments for tonight, board, I just want to start by thanking you all for trying new things. Some things might not work, right? And some things might work. So let's just keep trying them and try to be as efficient as possible. I welcome your feedback as we move forward, please, ideas. We are moving forward with the Contra committee as of next meeting. So please, Trustee Reckler, send us that feedback for our agenda review. I also want to I agree with Trustee Reckler. I would like to send my condolences to the Miss Wu-Shepherd family. I've met her many times. She was a wonderful human being for and everything she provided to our district over the years. I also want to thank our school staff, our teachers, our classified staff, our administrators. Oh man, there's no tired, like teacher tired after a week of rain. You don't get a break. You're wet. Oh man, no recess, no lunch, right? It's horrible. Our custodians, I know, feel it too. Our maintenance staff, Mr. Freeze, please thank your staff. Because everybody is doing so much right now during the storms. And I really do see our staff. I know we just got back from break and they're probably already exhausted. So everybody, please ensure you're taking care of yourself during this time and taking care of your own needs during the storms. That's it. Thank you so much. The next few weeks, we actually have like a board meeting every week. So just giving everybody a heads up, our next meeting is next Wednesday. We have a joint meeting with the CBOC on January 18th at Livonia Dijon from 6 to 8 p.m. And then we have a regular board meeting on January 25th, also here at Dijon. And then after that, we have one the following week. So we have a few back to back. So just giving everybody a heads up. And it is 8:53 and I adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much, everyone.